All right. Hey everybody, it's the Pedantic Skeptic here, and I do apologize for my absence. I wanted to get a couple of more videos made before the end of the year, but I've just been really under the weather. I don't want to get into it that much, but I just haven't been feeling all that well. Um, and it's been really hard to get, anything done. Just being sick. Um, I have been feeling a little better lately. I'm still very low on energy. Um, I had a brief illness back in October and November that I'm still kind of coming out of. Um, and so I've been a little bit absent from the making response videos sphere of things. But today I wanted to make a video response to a YouTuber who calls himself the Shamanistic. His channel is fairly small. He's got 130 subbies and 118 videos, so he has more subbies and videos than I do at the moment. But given that he's been on YouTube for a few years now, without much of a hiatus, um, I don't know, but he has a different view on the world. I don't think he's a Christian. He does kratom and tarot readings. His channel says overcoming depression with kratom, which is an herb, and tarot readings. And so I think this would fall under the umbrella of alternative medicine. Um, And I figured it would be a nice change of pace for the channel to have something that's responding to non-Abrahamic religion ideas. I have a lot of responses to Christians, a few responses to Muslims, and not a lot in terms of other unfounded belief systems. So we're going to take a look at some of his content, and let's just get right into this. Why don't we start with this video, The Spirit of Destruction? Hang on.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today?
So I just wanted to quickly put out there. This video is not, I know, like he has some health problems and things like that. The video is not meant to attack him for having health problems. The video is simply a response to anything that this guy says that may not be founded in sound science and logic and things like that.
This afternoon and tonight. Hope you're all doing well. And I shuffling the cards this morning. The card that I'm going to read today flipped out, landed on the floor. So I bet you that's what we need to hear.
So we have a very limited ability to hold on to a stack of cards, unless we're really trained well in shuffling and playing around with cards. Um, you know, I'd be skeptical that, the card you happen to drop happens to be, the deck's way of communicating with you as if the deck is a conscious being or something like that.
I bet that's exactly what we need to hear. It is Spirit of Destruction. Spirit of Destruction.
Okay.
Wow. What comes to mind when you first hear that?
If I said that, it would probably be taken down by YouTube.
Look at the picture on it. What does that remind you of?
It kind of looks like an orchid to me.
Do you see any images or anything in that? Sorry if I'm shaking. I don't mean to. Um, what do you get out of that with that uh, headline, "Spirit of Destruction"? And at first I thought I didn't think of it as in a good way.
So, one of the things I need to comment on, um, this guy does not look very healthy. He looks really skinny. He's clearly having some problems regulating his body temperature because he's inside and wearing, a full hoodie, this and that. Um, I suspect he's probably anemic. And the only reason I say that is because a lot of mental health conditions can be improved with proper diet, and that may include supplementation of iron, vitamin D, certain other vitamin B vitamins, things like that. Now, I'm not saying that this is a cover-all, like he probably should be medicated, but I think that some of his problems are coming from a nutritional deficiency. And I also say that with the understanding that depression, which this guy has said in his video description, in his channel description that he has, depression can cause an incredible lack of appetite. Um, I get the same problem, but my lack of appetite is more anxiety induced than depression induced. Um, I am just so constantly nerved up that I don't feel hungry or I feel nauseous and don't want to eat. But um, this guy does seem to be undernourished.
It's kind of like "Spirit of Destruction." That don't sound. That sounds horrible, you know. And so I had this image, or I projected. Is what I was trying to think of what word went with that. I projected something that it wasn't.
Okay then. Um, I don't know exactly where he's going with this. Um, a lot of these alternative medicine folks put a lot of emphasis on like energies entering and exiting your body and things like that. And while I don't think it's complete BS, I think that the human body is built to withstand a lot of shit, especially background radiation and especially, things like, you stand on the ground the wrong way, blah blah blah. I don't think that we're that delicate.
And I think we're good at doing that. Projecting how someone reacts when someone like I went and got some blood work done the other day, and the nurse, I was kind of observing her, and she didn't look like she was a very friendly, outgoing. I thought, man, I really don't think she should be here doing this work.
Okay, so real quick, I recently I went to donate blood a couple days ago actually, and an inexperienced phlebotomy technician was the one drawing my blood, and I ended up with this really big welt bruise on my over my vein. The guy didn't have the easiest time getting the needle in there, and he kept kind of like pulling it in and out, and like basically it slowed the blood draw down quite a bit, and it just really fucked up, and I get it. The guy's inexperienced and he needs to learn, and I'm still gonna donate blood, but it just was a kind of a little bit of fuckery at first. But a lot of these people who are doing, phlebotomy tech jobs aren't doing it because they're passionate about doing phlebotomy. They're doing it because it's a way to pay for med school, it's a way to get clinical experience, to get, it's like a stepping stone for them. And I don't blame somebody necessarily, or I don't fault somebody for not being super impassioned about, one thing they happen to be doing with their life at, the time. Um, and, you know, he's not giving us too many details. Is it the end of the day? Maybe she just, got told something bad, like, hey, instead of going home now, you have to work an extra 5 hours, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, she's maybe just having a bad day when you happen to go in to see her.
If she's not personable. But when I went and got
Your phlebotomist is not required to be personable. Hang on a sec. I just need to check my phone notification. Well, that's weird. Anyway,
Got up there and she started helping me. Everything changed. I mean, it was like what I projected was not what was really what she was about. So, I'm just I got to keep myself in check for stuff like that because it's real easy.
yeah. So sometimes people mirror one another. They like to match the energy in the room. That's just a normal social thing. It's not necessarily I'm sending out vibes, I'm sending out energy. It's more of we pick up on, on a subconscious level. If I come into a room feeling assured of myself and of the situation, I am sending a subliminal message to people that there's nothing to be worried about, there's nothing to be fretting about. It's not the same thing as I put out this energy into the universe and the universe responds. It's more of we, as a social species, are very good in general at picking up on one another's emotional states and matching that because it benefits us.
To judge something and it not be what you think it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this and see what you all think.
I dig the glasses; those are really cool.
It says, "I am the spirit of destruction. My aspect may be fearsome, but my powers, although not always welcome, are a force for good. I have the capacity to annihilate any negative emotions that may weigh down upon you. If any emotional obstacles block your path through life, I can destroy them."
Okay, um, I don't know that much about tarot, but it seems so far what he's told us are things that are not unique to him or me or anybody watching the video. We all are going to experience, for the most part, maybe the 1/10% of the population that can't feel emotions because of brain damage or whatever won't have this issue. But like, we're all going to experience negative emotions. We're all going to find things that are difficult. We're all going to have problems as we go along. Um, just yesterday I had a problem with my roommate because I needed to do laundry and he had his laundry like backed up through the entire laundry room, and so I had to wait until the day to do my, and that's just something minor. And there are also major bad things that happen throughout the course of somebody's life too.
To invoke my strength is to test your own, as I will force you to confront the darkest recesses of your mind.
Again, this is still very generic. This is something that could apply to anybody reading it. There's nothing unique or special about this.
If your heart is true, I can be a powerful guide. The spirit of destruction. When negative emotions plague us, they can ruin our contentment, damage our relationships, and undermine our sense of true self.
I thought you just said the spirit of destruction was actually good because it's not destroying good things in our life, it's destroying the bad things in our life. And now you're saying that it could get in the way?
Fear, guilt, resentment, anger, jealousy, all these can eat away at us spiritually, corroding our positive energy and locking us into negative patterns of thought.
So, here's something that I need to put out there. I had a therapist for a while who was really intrigued by by human emotional state. And one of the things that I learned from him is that every emotion we have not only happens for a reason, but can be framed in a good way. Um, so I have a lot of I'm very neurotic. Okay, primarily I have just this incredibly high level of anxiety. That's kind of like my biggest mental health issue right now, and basically for most of my life, that's been the biggest issue. Sometimes I call it paralyzing anxiety, where I'm just so worked up, so nerved up that I just freeze in place. And I've been dealing with that for my whole life. And one of the things that I was taught through therapy was that, even some of the really nasty emotional states that I can get into are my brain's way of trying to protect me or trying to get me to not necessarily look after myself, but get myself out of a bad situation. Okay? We have bad emotions for a particular reason, and they have their place. Um, you know, a lot of religions and spiritual ideals push this idea that you're not allowed, you're not supposed to feel anything bad. And I just want to say, fuck that. What I want to say is, we need to listen to our emotions. I'm not saying go on a rampage and harm people because we're angry, but there's nothing wrong with feeling angry in and of itself. You know, this religious idea that like being angry is always a bad thing is really just to drive home complacency. And that's a problem. But negative emotions do have a purpose. They are, kind of our brain, our subconscious's way of saying, like, you might need to make a change. You might need to figure out what is wrong. It's kind of like pain. Physical pain. If you get an injury, your body is telling you, like, hey, something's wrong here. We need to fix this. And, you know, it's meant to protect you. Okay? So, for example, if you touch something that's scalding hot, it hurts because that's your brain's way of saying, get your skin the fuck off of whatever this thing is. Negative emotions have a place in our lives. Now, again, the way you deal with those emotions is going to determine, your behavior is what I would be concerned about. But, you know, I was taught as a kid, and I didn't really have, all that religious parents, but, um, my mother was a kind of non-practicing Catholic. My father was, a non-practicing Protestant, but they still were raised with the idea that like you're sinning if you get mad, and you can't ever feel a bad way about anybody, and this and that, and blind respect is demanded from you. And the thing is, it's not healthy to go through life only feeling positivity. That's toxic. And the reason it's toxic is because when you go ahead and you're, you know, only seeing the good, you may be inadvertently shafting yourself from getting the most out of life. Because when you see something that's bad, your next thought should be, how do I make this better? And when we don't strive to make things better, we settle, and that's not always healthy for us. Now, am I saying that there's nobody on this planet who has things, almost perfect where they really wouldn't want to change? No, there are plenty of people who are, currently in really good circumstances, but not all of us are there. And so what I'm saying is, we need to teach people that it's okay to feel upset. It's not okay to go around, hitting people, screaming at people, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that we're upset is okay. And we need to regulate and process our emotions in a healthy manner and understand why we feel them, what the emotion is, why we feel it, how we deal with it, and what it can teach us.
The spirit of destruction has the power to annihilate such negativity. It forces us to address disturbing truths about ourselves and
Sorry.
acknowledge that no emotion can operate without our consent.
I disagree there. I don't think emotions are necessarily voluntary, but anyway. Um, so I'm glad. Here's my take. A lot of this tarot stuff seems to be no shit, no brainer. I just don't see the need to frame it in this spiritualist means. You know, maybe it's because I'm very much a literalist. Maybe it's because I have a much more rigid mindset. But I don't like the idea that these are things we should all be grasping towards. Because for some people, this is not a way their brain can operate. And so I'm not, you know, there's nothing unique to this tarot stuff that I'm sensing here. We can tell other people about, you know, how to be emotionally healthy and how to recognize negativity in our lives, isn't that? Without invoking some like outside force, if you will, or things that aren't necessarily grounded in sound science.
Such healing violence brings an end to inner damage. Such healing violence brings an end to our inner damage and the soothing sense of calm after a terrible storm. Let me read that again.
That just reminds me of metabolism, because when we, digest food, we're breaking down cellular matter in a fairly crude way. We're using, our smooth muscles and hydrochloric acid to destroy a bunch of shit down to its constituent parts. But by doing that, we're able to absorb the individual parts and then basically reassemble them into forms, molecules that we ourselves need and can use. It's really interesting to think about. But again, we don't need to make it like a spiritual thing. I mean, I guess if you want to, you can. But I personally, I just wish that this guy would have some, a disclaimer at the beginning of his videos, like, maybe this isn't something that suits you, and that's fine.
Such healing violence brings an end to inner damage and the soothing sense of calm after a terrible storm. Wow, man. The inner interpretations are destruction of damaging emotions, freedom leading to calm, anger, frustration, power lost and power regained, annihilation of spiritual blockages, and letting go.
I had an annihilation of a blockage earlier today.
Wow, it's from the Shaman Oracle again. Same one that
Okay. Wisdom and guidance from the ancestors. So, what I would say is that just because our ancestors did something doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing for us to do. I would hold any tradition to stand on its own merits. So, you know, our ancestors weren't as advanced or as smart as us. Um, you know, and I get it. We are living in a world today where like TikTok trends and random shit on the internet has reached a new level of stupidity. But outside of that, our society has actually gotten progressively better in a lot of ways. Especially with what we now know about the natural world. For example, when I was a kid, I'm 27 now. So when I was, like, let's say, like, when I was 8 or 9, we didn't know very much about, like, endosymbiosis. I mean, it was a theory at the time, but it wasn't a very well put together theory. And over the course of my lifetime, we have gained so many new perspectives on endosymbiosis. I wasn't taught endosymbiosis until like my senior year of high school. Nowadays, they're teaching this sort of thing in middle school. and it's only been about 10 years, which is good. We are teaching people things earlier because we are getting basically basically the way that my assessment of things, scientifically speaking, is that the more we understand something and the less complicated it is, the earlier we teach it to children. So things that are incredibly novel and up in the air still aren't taught until you're in college. But things that we have really well established mechanisms for and things like that generally introduced very early on, at least to a basic degree. Like we teach kids, at the end of elementary school, usually that living things are made of cells. We don't obviously go into all the cellular machinery until they're a little older, but the fact that living things are made of cells and cells are made of chemicals and chemicals are made of atoms and molecules and blah blah blah, we do teach those. We introduce those concepts very early. Same thing with math. Okay, basic addition is taught very early on. It's not until you get a lot older do you start getting into the hypothetical, theoretical math stuff like calculus. Okay? In biology, I see a lot of things that, endosymbiosis and symbiosis, especially in the realm of like plants and how they interact with fungi that are growing on their roots. We didn't know very much about that when I was growing up. It's only in the past 4 or 5 years that we've actually gotten an understanding of, like, it's not just the plants that are, responding to their environment. It's the fungus growing on the roots of the plants that are recognizing that something's wrong with their plant and they're saying, oh fuck, and they're sending signals through the plant and they're sending signals through the soil. And, we're just learning some of these things still. And so, what I'm getting at is our ancestors may not have necessarily known about all of these things. And I'm of the opinion that the more we know, the better we can make decisions about our lives and our world. And that is why I would be very cautious about necessarily blindly trusting everything that our ancestors have said. Okay? Because, our ancestors didn't know, a lot about psychology, like even like Freudian psychology isn't the pinnacle of psychology anymore. Even though, Freudian psychology was the pinnacle of psychology when my mother was growing up, that's no longer the case.
Did last time. So, and,
You know, my concern with this sort of thing is that this isn't scientifically tested or, you know, I do like the drawing of the deer though. Um, and look, I take a very nuanced approach to some of this stuff. I would say if you are having a health problem, you need to know when to stop with the alternative medicine and go see an actual doctor. I would say that some of this stuff is good for preventative measures and minor illnesses. But I've seen people literally try to cure themselves of cancer with herbal supplements and end up dying from it. I'm not saying this guy's on the same level as that, but this a lot of the alternative medicine and this and that is rooted in some of this like wisdom healing and things like that, chakras and all this other stuff that I personally don't ascribe to. I don't think I'm not saying it's a total lie, but I don't think there's a lot of grounding in sound science here. And that's what I want to caution people about. Oh, god damn it. Whoops, I didn't mean to click that. Alright, let's see. I forgot where we were. Let's just go to a different video for now. I don't want to do the Bible stuff. Let's see what this is.
How y'all doing today?
I'm doing fine. For my viewers, you probably notice I'm wearing my pajamas. Of course, there was a an earlier iteration or segment of this video that I recorded on a different day. I've just had like very low energy. I'm feeling a lot better the past couple days, but I've been very low energy, and it's just been very hard for me to do very much for extended periods of time.
It is Sunday. I don't know the date. 10th, 11th, something like that. Probably the 10th. But I just wanted to speak on something that happened to me probably 2, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. When I opened the Akashic Records, I walk them in, the spirit guides, masters, teachers, loved ones, spiritual team, my ancestors, and as I'm doing this, I heard this. Who do you think you're praying to? It kind of threw me off. I was like,
Well, no, actually, one second. Actually, that's a very good question. I think it's a perfectly valid question, and I think somebody's well within their rights to ask that. And I think, you know, people who have beliefs in prayer should be able to answer that quite quickly and quite readily.
I don't know. And then I was actually speaking with my cousin Bill Cook, that
Okay, you shouldn't name drop somebody like that on the internet. Just saying.
passed away probably last year sometime. Um, and I thought, well, I guess I'm speaking to the spirit of my cousin Bill. And they said, the voice said, yes, in a way, and it kind of tripped me out.
Well, I think for more than a year. So, who were you praying for to before your cousin died?
Thinking about this, and what what it all came down to was
His ceiling is making me nervous. If you just see all that like peely shit, that's just anyway.
that we, after we pass away, we all go back to the source. So in the
How do you know this? What's your evidence? Please enlighten us. Polemic.
when we do speak to our ancestors individually, we are not just speaking to them individually. We are speaking to the whole. That's the everybody is one. It kind of blew me away because when you speak to one of the people.
So I have a question. What about my dead dog? So let's go off on a little bit of a tangent. So my first dog, um, very nice Labradoodle named Henry, very sweet little guy. Um, he died at 19 months of age because of a brain infection. It was like the worst thing that you could ever watch an animal go through. Um, Basically, what had happened, well, so I was very attached to this dog because one, I love dogs. I bond very well with dogs. You'll probably see Riley in later videos because I'm taking Riley, my current dog, for my sister for a couple of months. We're gonna share Riley now. 1 minute. I really just need to go upstairs and grab some water, honestly. Anyway, um, so he was our first dog. This is the dog I had in high school. Um, and he loved everybody. Um, and I was very attached to him. And I was crushed when he died because this was like the first time that I had been connected to a mammal, really. Um, for those of you who don't know, I had a very tumultuous relationship with my parents and with most human beings in my life. I have a couple of people who I'm not going to name drop or talk in detail about on this video who I am very connected to. Um, but they're few and far between. So anyway, my dog was basically the one who I really had a connection to. Like my mother and I fought over who got to sleep with him at night. So my mother took sleeping pills because she had a sleep disorder. She's no longer alive. Um, and she would take Henry into her room, and when she was asleep, I would open the door and he would follow me into my room. It was the best thing ever. Um, and he was like most Labradoodles, very snuggly, very affectionate, and I just fucking loved this dog. And then he caught some kind of brain infection, encephalitis to be precise, from some wild animal. And the problem with encephalitis is even in humans, a lot of forms of encephalitis have like a 50% mortality rate. We basically, veterinary medicine is quite behind human medicine for whatever reason. I think it's ridiculous. Um, like we can't do anything for premature puppies, but we can save premature babies. It's just stupid. Anyway, um, my question is, do animal spirits, non-human animal spirits, fall into this realm of connection to people who have died? Because I would argue personhood can be attained even without being a human. And you can have humans who aren't people.
One like Archangel Michael or Raphael, you're actually speaking to everybody
What the fuck?
because after we pass, we are no longer individuals. We don't have an individuality. We go back and we're part of that one, and that was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Wait, is he saying that his dead cousin told him this from beyond the grave or some shit like that? That just doesn't make sense. How do you know you're speaking just to your dead cousin if you're telling me that everybody is now collectively one? Hang on. I gotta respond to Denise later. Oh, I shouldn't name drop. One sec. Not this. Here we go.
That's neat to know that when that everybody, even the people with the soul and the spirit. I mean, regardless if they're mass murderers or whatever, it doesn't matter because that's all gone. That's not who they are after they pass away. That was their human aspect of that. We are all one, even as individuals. We're all one in spirit.
Well, I would like some evidence for this claim, but in any case, um, genetically speaking, humans are about as close to each other as we can get without massive inbreeding being responsible.
Spirit. So after our bodies are gone and they are dead and buried, our body's the only thing that dies. Our spirit doesn't die. Never. It never goes. It goes right back to the source, and we all become one. That is so awesome. I think that
Are you telling me that like some part of me is gonna fuse with some part of like everybody else who's ever existed? That just sounds kind of creepy.
um, but yeah, I just thought I would. throw that out here and see what people think. Uh, what is your take on this?
My take is that this is a bunch of bullshit. Quite frankly. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I just don't think that this is what the evidence points to.
Please like these videos if you like them. If you don't, give me a dislike. I don't care. Do if you don't like it, let me know.
Okay, what else does this guy have? What the fuck is the damn... I'm not even gonna watch that. Let's see if there's anything else. Alright. Well, that was quite something. Um, it's a journey into something new, something different. You know, I want to start reaching out into other realms of skepticism because it's not just Christianity, it's not just Abrahamic religions or anything like that that I don't believe in. And so I will kind of take on any weird ideas and critique them. So that's what I'm doing here. Um, so with that, um, please do, the like, the subscribe, the comment, blah blah blah. Um, don't forget to stay pedantic, be a hopeless romantic, and keep clear of the Atlantic. And I'll see everybody in the next one. Thanks for watching.